Complementary Colors by Changed Lorax Vatrash on AO3. Summary. Being Shouto Todoroki wasn't especially a pleasant experience. Being blue was a much better one. Shouto had no idea about his parents' soulmates. Both of them had their arms covered up most of the time, and his mother especially didn't say anything about it. Shouto sometimes wondered later if she had anyone on her arms keeping her company, especially in the hospital. And his father, well, soulmates are not something you need, he said one time, after his mother was taken away the washable markers he had. They are distracting you. Fujimi, his only sister, was the one who sneaked in new markers for him to write with. Don't forget to wash them down well, she whispered, teaching him how to hide the markers on his own person, in his own room. The rest of the lines will disappear, but yours will have to be washed down. Being Shouto Todoroki wasn't especially a pleasant experience. Being blue was so much better. Those times when he would curl up and just draw, and later write down his arm, seeing green and red unravel on his skin. Red was harsh, but his harshness was different from what Shouto was used to, and it was a welcome change, filling with honesty. Green rambled a lot, both of them very likely to just write a lot. Red with frustration rants and Green with enthusiastic ones. Shouto himself was often concerned with just watching the red and green lines circle around each other, playfully playing often. Idolized heroes, obviously. They talked the most about All Might, because everyone did, and Shouto dreaded it if his dad would ever come up, and sometimes did, when he was on the news after solving a case. But the conversation often trailed off elsewhere, usually to All Might. Often, Shouto didn't even have to be the one to direct the conversation topic away from Endeavor. Simply both Red and Green seemed to be more enthusiastic about All Might. Shouto couldn't help feel a sense of, no, not gloating. That was a bad word. But he felt a weird wave of satisfaction over that. Shouto's soulmates didn't care as much about Endeavor, and he almost felt sorry for having to keep it a secret, because it would have driven his father up the wall. Much later, he would tell Red and Green that he had his suspicions about their identities after the battle trials, and it was true. He didn't think he was right, though. It would have been way too convenient, and way not convenient at all, at the same time. Of course, all of them had mentioned wanting to come to UA, so the odds were, well, it was impossible they would all end up here, especially if fate intended them to be soulmates. It would make sense for them to actually meet up physically, to actually get to know each other. But on the other hand, actually meeting would cause a whole other bunch of problems, especially if Shouto's suspicions would end up to be correct. The way Green and Red argued on his skin, and the fire between Bakugo and Midoriya during the battle trials definitely caught his attention. So he kept paying attention, and he noticed more and more things. Bakugo's temper definitely matched Red's, right down to his foul mouth and superiority complex. But while Bakugo wore this like an armor, biting out to anyone who dared come close, with Red, it always felt a bit more muted. Or Shouto was just more used to Red than he was to Bakugo. And Midoriya would definitely ramble a lot, like Green did. Generally had a kinder, more timid way of talking, except for those times when Green was way more likely to talk back to Red, to talk both Red and Shouto down when they were going to argue. Red, Green, Bakugo, and Midoriya were all smarter than they looked, that was for sure. Also, Green and Red apparently met each other. No, that wasn't right. The way they talked on Shouto's arm after the battle trial, it suggested something more. It's a bit more complicated. That was what Green had said when Shota asked him if he had met Red. And if Shota's theory, his suspicion, his hunch, was correct, it indeed was, seeing as Midoriya and Bakugo basically grew up together. If Red and Green were really Bakugo and Midoriya, then they had a history together, which was one thing. Obvious Red and Green knew each other. Red, Green, and Blue all knew each other. Some ways. They had secrets. Other ways, they were more open than anywhere else. But if Red and Green were Bakugo and Midoriya, then they had a past, a shared history that Shouto was not a part of. Shouto had no idea what to think about it. The sports festival changed everything. The honest look in Midoriya's eyes, the fire in Bakugo's, both of them screaming at him to don't look away, to use his fire, to give it his all. Didn't care about anyone else, but them. Only about winning, only about becoming a hero. In Red's words, somewhere between the two matches. Green is a bit inconvenienced because he's a fucking moron. He still didn't want to really think about what it all could mean. What it could mean, Green and Red, really being Midoriya and Bakugo, and what would happen if they talked about it. They had to know each other's identities, but did they know about Shoto's? So when he saw Green's handwriting change, he couldn't hold himself back anymore, and he just asked. Obviously, he was correct, and turned out they knew. Well, Midoriya figured it out, which was not surprising. Those naive-looking green eyes were hiding a very calculating mind. As for Bakugo, well, either he was in denial, or he was really that slow. Shoto was inclined to believe the first option. Neither of them really knew how to act, and it was somehow comforting at first. The other two was just lost now, their identities out in the open, and all of them unable to continue lying about it. There were simply too many things to deal with, things either of them knew how to voice. And the more time passed, the less sure Shota became, whether coming out to the open was a good idea or not. He liked being blue. He liked riding on his arms, watching Green and Red reply. He enjoyed the times they were bickering with each other. Being Shouto Todoroki wasn't an easy life, but being blue was much easier. But now the lines were becoming blurred. Them continuing verbal conversation and writing, and vice versa. One memorable occasion, for example. I think you two are just avoiding every option to fight me, afraid of getting your ass kicking. Yes, because clearly we are afraid of you. Didn't I technically win against you in the battle trials, though? No, you didn't. Bakugo snapped, throwing his marker at Midoriya's head. You might have won the exercise, but I won our duel, you piece of shit. They were sitting on a bench in a mostly empty park, and Shota sighed, pulling his sleeve down, covering up the writing on his arm. The point is, Bakugo, we can't fight in the middle of the park. Explain why? I literally have so many reasons why not, Midoriya murmured, picking up the marker Bakugo threw at him. Fine, then, I guess we will have to find a place to do so. Give me back my marker. Asked nicely, Kachan. Shut the fuck up, Deku. You fucking nerd, give me back my marker. Please. Shoto couldn't help but smile a little, as Midoriya chuckled and gave him back the marker to Bakugo. Shota sometimes wondered whether others at the school had realized what was going on. They definitely had to notice how the three of them gravitated towards each other. How Midoriya became more and more comfortable to just tease Bakugo, and how Bakugo, although as versatile as ever, he never followed up after any other threats. And with them, there was Shoto, who couldn't help but wonder to think. You two had known each other a long time, right? It was some kind of exercise that day, and Midoriya and Shoto were watching Bakugo, who was already doing his turn, and the two of them didn't even look away from him. Yes, I had known Kachan since we were little, honestly. He's been around as long as I could remember, because we went to the same kindergarten and everything. I guess it makes sense for you, then. That you and him. He didn't say it out loud. They never did. Hell, they didn't even write the word soulmate down. They all knew it, and they all walked around the word, the definition, but none of them actually said the word. I'm not so sure about that. Kachan is, well, he is difficult, but he's definitely a permanent presence in my life, so I guess from that perspective, yeah, I think it's not surprising. Don't tell him I said that, though. He'll blow up. Possibly literally. Duly noted. They eventually found a place to fight at. At the edge of the city, there was an old abandoned factory, long since emptied. Not even homeless people went there. Kids sometimes went there on dares. I remember we came here once as kids. Remember, Deku? Bakugo grinned. We came here on a class trip, and we ditched the teachers. Of course, you tread along like the nerd you are. I suppose your teachers weren't happy about it, Shouto murmured, and Bakugo's grin grew wider. They threw a fucking fit, obviously. Honestly, I think they were just used to it. You pulled this kind of thing on a regular basis, Kachan. Shut the fuck up, Deku. You were always trailing behind me, so you don't have room to talk. They did decide to not use quirks for the first time. See how sturdy the place was, and then maybe later they could use their full powers against each other. It still wasn't nowhere near as easy match. Shoulda knew if those two would have teamed up against him, he wouldn't have stood a chance. And similarly, if he were to team up with one, the other standing, neither a chance. There was no teaming up, though, not this time. By the end, they were all full of bruises, but Midoriya was laughing, and there was a wide grin on Bakugo's face, and Shouta couldn't help but smile either. At least this was something they could let themselves be as open as they wanted to be. There were many things Shouta didn't want to think about, things he didn't even want to consider. Work their issues through step by step, figuring out this whole soulmate thing with the other two. All of these things worked perfectly well, up until one time he stayed late studying in the library. Because you're a stupid idiot nerd, that's why. Shouta really didn't want to listen, but he was deep in the library, and walking away at this point would have meant having to walk past an arguing Bakugo and Midoriya. That really wasn't an answer to my question, though. Shouta sunk down to the bottom of the shelf so he could only see their shoes. He told himself he had no reason to hide, but really his hair was way too recognizable, and the three of them were just barely toeing out of awkward stage of whatever they had, so he figured he'd just wait it out. I could throw back the same fucking question to you, Deku. Bakugo growled in a low voice. You kept coming after me, no matter how many times I pushed you away. Was it because of your stupid fixation after figuring out it was me on your arm? It wasn't just that, Kachan. Yeah. What the fuck ever? Do you seriously think this means we will be around each other for the rest of our lives? I don't think it means that, unless we want it to mean that. Well, that's a fucking relief. You don't want it to mean that? There was a sharp intake of breath, and Bakugo's voice was definitely more hoarse, and Shouta saw that Midoriya stepped closer to him, as he felt his own heart speed up so fast that he worried his heart would give away his location. What the Of course Midoriya's feet moved even closer, and he obviously stood at his tippy toes, and Bakugo's voice abruptly stopped. Shouto didn't need to actually see the kiss to know that it happened. He could barely pay attention to anything else. Soon the two disappeared, and Shouto could leave the library and walked on his way back home, and he kept getting lost in his thoughts. He should have seen this coming. Really, he should have. Bakugo and Midoriya had history. Everyone knew that. Even Midoriya had acknowledged it wasn't surprising that Bakugo was one of his colors in his arms. Red and green. Bakugo and Midoriya. His mind trailed back to color theory he talked about, primarily just to mess with Bakugo, but now he couldn't stop thinking about it. Red and green, complementary colors. The two of them together canceled each other out, but they were strikingly different and still worked together so well. Where was place for blue then? Of course, he knew this was stupid. Talking about color theory was something of an inside joke between them at this point. If he thought of red and green as complementary colors, then using a completely different color method than the red and green blue ones they used to refer to themselves as primary colors. All of this was stupid and made no sense, and his mind wouldn't stop thinking about it either way. Young Todoroki? It was a sudden voice that yanked him out of his thought process, and he turned that way, only for a sharp pain to enter his neck. He didn't even hear them speaking up on him. Don't worry, the woman grinned in front of him, as his strength left Shoto's legs almost immediately. You are worth more to us alive. More hands caught him. He tried to use ice to freeze the hands holding him up, but there was no strength left in his muscles. This definitely wasn't Shouto Todoroki's best day. When he woke up, everything was very bright. It was the afternoon, the sun was already setting, when they had caught him, which meant he was gone for a whole night, and probably at least most of the next day, which meant that, by now, everyone must have realized he was missing. They probably destroyed his phone, or just took it away from him, so they couldn't track his location like that. Otherwise, his father would have been here already. Endeavor wasn't about to win any Father of the Year awards anytime soon, but Shota knew exactly that he wouldn't leave his biggest pet project go to waste. His hands and legs were tied together with zip ties, which were already very hard on his wrists, but otherwise he could move. Also, he knew where he was. He knew the place. He tentatively placed his right hand to the ground. Nothing. Don't worry, the same woman spoke up cheerfully, walking up to him from the next room with a bottle of water. The drugs we injected you with stops your powers for a short period. We wouldn't want you to freeze us. You got it? What do you want from me? From you? Really nothing. It's a simple exchange. Your old man has gotten one of our friends. It's simple, really. Your dad gives us back someone we care about, and he gets back someone he cares about. They didn't really guard him, which gave him the idea that the drug in his system would last for a while, which was kind of alarming, really. Then, under his sleeve of his coat, he saw a red line appear on his wrist. The signs were hidden under his jacket, so he couldn't see what was written there, but it was enough for him to get an idea. Thanks to Fujimi for teaching him to hide his markers with him. One of his inner pockets, there was a marker he could take out, taking the cap off with his teeth, then again using his teeth to pull on his sleeves of his arms a bit further up, so he could see the frantic, red and green lines both trying to get any kind of reaction out of him. Twisting his right hand around in the zip tie was very painful, but his wrist was also bleeding. But he managed to do it. 2 kanji were needed to write a simple word, his current location. It may have been upside down, now, compared how he usually wrote, but it couldn't be helped. Factory. Really, what were the odds that his kidnappers would take him to the same place as the 3 of them sparred at not so long ago? There was a part of Shouto, a logic part, that thought the 2 of them would let the pro heroes know, and they would end this real quickly. And then there was the other part of Shouto, the one that actually knew Bakugan Midoriya. And as soon as he heard an explosion outside, he thought, yeah, seriously, what did you expect? Somewhere in the middle of it all, Shouto actually managed to summon some ice himself, therefore being able to participate in the fight as well. And from that point, it really was a done deal. Didn't you go back home, Todoroki? I mean, your family must be looking for you, right? The other 2 didn't want to be caught doing vigilante action after all, and Shouto ran with them, and now they were all walking together, side by side, and Shouto shrugged. I can always just tell them I got out on my own. Don't you think they will tell? Tell everyone 3 high schoolers beat them? I don't think so. At least, he wondered. They would be together. The one they wanted Endeavor to be free, as they left them there, knocked out, a bit frozen in ice. Not too much, not to kill them, or hurt them permanently, just so that they wouldn't run away. And for Shouto himself, he got away without any permanent damage. His quirks were working properly now, and the only thing that remained is a small needle mark on his neck, and the scar where the zip ties messed up his wrist. Nothing that wouldn't fade soon. 3? I think you meant 2. Bakugo grinned at him. You were a totally fucking damsel in distress. And you lacked any kind of subtlety at coming in. You have no idea how many of them there were, and you came here exploding everything. Maybe you could give us clear instructions? 3? I think you meant 2. Bakugo grinned at him. You were a total damsel in fucking distress. 3? I think you meant 2. Bakugo grinned at him. You were totally a fucking damsel in distress. And you lacked any kind of subtlety at coming in. You have no idea how many of them there were, and you came in here exploding everything. Well, maybe you could have given us clearer instructions. Ah, yes. Next time I have my hands tied together and my quirk negated, I will keep in mind to write you a full battle plan. Shut up. Make me. It was an intrusive response, one he had written many times on his arms. But now Bakugo stopped, grabbed Shouto's jacket, pressed him up against the wall, and kissed him furiously. Bakugo still smelt like fire and smoke, fresh from the battle after all, and his kiss was every bit of rough as Shouto expected it to be. After Bakugo pulled back his head, he grinned again. See? What do you know? You can shut your mouth. It was, indeed, very hard to find the words, and Midoriya frowned a little, seeing his face. Is there something wrong, Todoroki? I just assumed that you two... yesterday, in the library. Don't fucking tell me you overheard shit and then spent this whole time overthinking about it. Bakugo let go of Shinso's jacket so he could throw his hands in the air. Fucking idiot. Weren't you the one to say that? Midoriya asked gently. It's the 3 of us, isn't it? They didn't walk him back home. It really was for the best, if they kept their involvement out of the entire situation. So at one point, they had to split up. Right. See you all at school. The other 2 nodded, and on a whim, Shouto extended a hand towards Midoriya, who just looked at him, confused, and Bakugo rolled his eyes. He doesn't want to leave you out, just kiss him already, Deku. Midoriya didn't need to be told twice after that. Honestly, getting home wasn't that bad. Endeavor was actually satisfied that his son was strong enough to get out alone, and now he had that weird drug case to work on. So he left Shouto alone, which was always a plus either way. No matter what, after he closed himself in his room, the colors on his skin were waiting for him, and it really seemed like this would stay that way. This was a cute series, and that's the end of that series, the one-shot series. Out of the one-shot series, there is only 3, which would be primary colors, additive colors, and complementary colors. I think you could read them all on themselves without, reading the other, because it really explains, like, for example, this one, even if you didn't read additive colors or primary colors, you got the gist of what happens in those. If you really want to get more into detail on what actually happened in those, you could go ahead and go read those. I have those Podfic as well. This series in total is barely meeting the... It's 3,000. No, it's 9,305 words. That's its word count. It is 3 works and it's completed. It got completed in, 2017. June of 2017. That is a while back. God damn. Oh my god. Oh, you're so adorable sleeping on my lap. For those who are not aware and are not on the Discord, I'm about to make a little announcement. I have recently adopted a kitten. Yes, he is a cute little one. He is small, but he's gonna grow soon. I know that. He is an attention whore. So this video took a little longer than it should have to record because he kept hearing meows in the background and he didn't stop meowing until I put him on my lap. And he's been happy on my lap for the past couple minutes of me recording, the past couple hours of me recording and eating and all that stuff. He just really likes it. He also likes to climb up my desk and just sit on my computer. I know cats do this because computers emit like a warmth and cats really like that warmth. But buddy, I was trying to record and you deleted all my progress. He literally deleted all of it. I'm lucky for Control Z, otherwise I would have had to redo it. He's lucky Control C is a thing. But yeah, his name is Storm. I wonder where I got that name. And actually later today, I'm thinking I'm going to post a video just about him. Little clippets of him, little pictures of him. But if you were in the Discord, you would have known I got him about 3-4 days ago, I believe. Yeah, 3-4 days ago, you would have immediately been known and you would have seen so many pictures and videos of him. So make sure to join the Discord. It's down in the description. He's super cute. He's a tuxedo cat. He's super cute. He's black and white. He's a tuxedo cat. He has grayish green eyes right now. But my parents and my uncle, who also has cats, is like, no, yeah, that's probably gonna turn into an olive green as, you know, the kitty grows up and stuff. I don't think the mic picked that up. It's just a little meow. A little meow. He's purring right now. I don't think the cat, it's just doing this. Okay, I'll give you attention. Goddamn. Are you okay? Are you having a nightmare? Should I be concerned? You're just making these noises. Man's is dead asleep. Okay, but as I was saying, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.